a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Jared Fogle. Jared Scott Fogle, also known as the Subway Guy, is an American former spokesperson for Subway restaurants and convicted child molester. After his significant weight loss attributed to eating Subway sandwiches, Fogle was made a spokesperson for the company's advertising campaigns. From 2000 to 2015, Fogle's tenure with Subway ended after he was investigated for paying for sex with minors and receiving child pornography in 2015. On August 19, 2015, he agreed to plead guilty in federal court to possessing child pornography and traveling to pay for sex with minors. Fogle formally pleaded guilty to the charges on November 19, 2015, and was sentenced to serve 15 years, 8 months in federal prison, with a minimum of 13 years before becoming eligible for early release. Early life. Fogle was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, to Norman and Adrienne Fogle. He was raised in a Jewish home. He became a bar mitzvah while on a trip to Israel, and then was confirmed by his conservative Reconstructionist synagogue. In 1995, Fogle graduated from North Central High School in Indianapolis. He graduated from Indiana University in 2000, and then worked briefly in the Revenue Management Department at American Transair. Subway campaign. Fogle first came to media attention in April 1999, via an article written by a former dorm mate about Fogle's weight loss and published in the Indiana Daily Student. Subsequently, Fogle was featured in a Men's Health magazine article, Stupid Diets. That work. According to the article, Fogle had become obese through lack of exercise and eating junk food. Fogle changed his eating habits upon the switch to eating at Subway by eating smaller portions that were free of high-calorie condiments such as mayonnaise. While following this diet, he lost over 200 pounds. A Chicago area Subway franchisee took Fogle's story to Subway's Chicago-based advertising agency. As a test, the company ran a regional television advertising campaign. The first ad aired on January 1, 2000, introducing Fogle and his story, with the following disclaimer: the Subway diet, combined with a lot of walking, worked for Jared. We're not saying this is for everyone. You should check with your doctor before starting any diet program. But it worked for Jared. Because the introductory test ads were a success, Fogle subsequently appeared in more television commercials as well as sponsored in-store appearances throughout the United States. He gave talks on the benefits of fitness and healthy eating. In 2002, Fogle was the subject of an episode of South Park titled, "Jared Has AIDS." Fogle has stated that while the episode had typically tasteless humor, the fact that an entire episode was devoted to him was very flattering. He added, "You know you've made it when shows like South Park start parodying you." In February 2008, a Subway campaign called Tour de Pants celebrated Fogle maintaining his weight loss for a decade. As part of the campaign, Fogle made an announcement that he would retire his pair of 62 in pants to a museum at the end of the advertising tour. Beginning in 2008, Fogle's presence in Subway advertisements decreased due to the company's placing a new emphasis on its $5 footlong promotion. Fogle's role in Subway afforded him some other opportunities, such as appearances in WWE in 2009 and 2011. By 2013, Fogle had filmed more than 300 commercials and continued to make appearances and speeches for the company. Subway attributed 1/3 to 1/2 of its growth in sales to Fogle, with revenue having tripled from 1998 to 2011. Fogle has also made appearances in the Sharknado film series, beginning with Sharknado 2, the second one. He also had a cameo appearance in Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No, though this was cut from the Sci-Fi Channel broadcast version a week before the premiere when he was arrested. Jared Foundation. In 2004, Fogle established the Jared Foundation, a non-profit organization focused on raising awareness about childhood obesity through educational programs and tools provided to parents, schools, and community organizations. On April 29, 2015, Russell Taylor, director of the Jared Foundation, was arrested at his Indianapolis home on charges of child exploitation, possession of child pornography, and voyeurism. Fogle severed all ties with him immediately following the arrest. Taylor attempted suicide on May 6, 2015, at the Marion County Jail and was placed on life support. Taylor pleaded guilty to the charges on September 1, 2015, and on December 10, 2015, was sentenced to 27 years in federal prison. In August 2015, a USA Today article reported that the Jared Foundation had not issued any grants nor had it given funds for its stated purpose. The article further noted that, on average, the foundation spent $73,000 a year, with the majority of that figure paying the salary of the foundation's executive director. More than one-quarter of the funds were unaccounted for per the foundation's tax records. The Secretary of State of Indiana dissolved the organization in February 2012 because it did not pay the required $5 annual reporting fees during the 2 previous years, despite being requested to do so on multiple occasions. Daniel Borokoff, president of the non-profit charity watchdog group Charity Watch, was quoted by USA Today as saying, "If Jared was really interested in helping children through his foundation, he could have gotten more money." As with a lot of celebrities, the charity appears to be more about image enhancement than charitable deeds. Plea agreement. On August 19, 2015, federal prosecutors announced they had reached a deal with Fogle in which he would plead guilty to 2 counts, one of distribution and receipt of child pornography and one of traveling to engage in illicit sexual conduct with a minor, specifically from Indiana to New York City, where he is charged with paying to engage in sexual acts with a 17-year-old girl. Prosecutors alleged that Fogle offered adult prostitutes a finder's fee to find him younger sex partners. According to documents released by federal prosecutors, Fogle has also agreed to pay a total of $1.4 million in restitution, $100,000 to each victim. Fogle faced up to 50 years in prison had he gone to trial. However, as part of the plea deal, which was not binding on the sentencing judge, prosecutors agreed to seek no more than 12.5 years. In return, Fogle agreed to a minimum sentence of 5 years. Soon after the plea deal was announced, Subway announced via Twitter that it had completely severed ties with Fogle. As a condition of his plea deal, Fogle would be restricted to supervised contact or communication with minors upon approval of his probation officer. Supervised visits with his own children would be allowed only with approval of their mother. Fogle had already made a request to visit his 2 children in September, but McLaughlin contested it. Upon release from prison, Fogle will be required to register as a sex offender for the remainder of his life and undergo treatment for sexual disorders. On November 19, 2015, Fogle formally pleaded guilty before federal judge Tanya Walton Pratt. In a statement, Fogle apologized for his crimes, saying that he wanted a chance to become a good, honest person and redeem his life after being ensnared in a life of deception, lies and complete self-centeredness. According to Dr. John Bradford, a forensic psychiatrist who testified for Fogle's defense team, Fogle suffered from a compulsive eating disorder for several years before losing weight, and replaced food with a sense of hypersexuality, which included mild or weak pedophilia. The diagnosis was not accepted by experts in the psychiatry field and was criticized by Pratt and on social media. Liberty Behavioral Health Corporation psychologist Adam Deming suggested that Bradford had meant to say that Fogle's primary sexual attraction was to early teenagers, but that he had a lesser attraction to younger children. Pratt sentenced him to 15 years, 8 months in prison, more than 3 years more than what prosecutors had sought, and 3 times what Fogle had requested. The level of perversion and lawlessness exhibited by Mr. Fogle is extreme, Pratt said. Fogle must serve a minimum of 13 years before becoming eligible for time off with good behavior. After serving his sentence, he will be on supervised release for the rest of his life. Pratt also fined him $175,000 and ordered him to forfeit $50,000 in assets, in addition to the $1.4 million restitution. Fogle's lawyer, Ron Elberger, filed a notice of appeal on December 14, 2015. Fogle is able to appeal the sentence since it is longer than the maximum sentence recommended by the prosecutors. The appeal brief was due by January 25, 2016, but Fogle asked for an extension for his appeal after Elberger was diagnosed with cancer. The extension was granted after Fogle's timely filing of his appeal. The U.S. Attorney's Office has opposed any sentence reduction, and in support of this have directed the judge's attention to Fogle's text messages to a madam, in which Fogle stated he would pay big if she could procure 14-year-old children, specifically stating that he craved underage Asian girls. In these text messages, he also expressed sexual interest in young boys, although there is to date no evidence that he paid for sex with male children. On June 9, 2016, Fogle's sentence was upheld by a federal appeals court. Incarceration. Fogle's lawyers recommended that he serve his sentence at Federal Correctional Institution, Englewood near Littleton, Colorado. It has a program for sex offenders. Pratt agreed with the recommendations, but she had no authority to determine where Fogle would serve his sentence. On November 21, 2015, Fogle arrived at the Henderson County, Kentucky Detention Center, where he was held on a temporary basis. Fogle entered Federal Bureau of Prisons custody, going to Federal Transfer Center, Oklahoma City, on December 15, 2015. On December 18, Fogle was transferred to FCI Englewood. Fogle's BOP number is 12,919-028. His earliest possible release date is July 11, 2029, a month before his 52nd birthday. In March 2016, Fogle was assaulted by another inmate, Stephen Nigg, reportedly, because Nigg hates child molesters. The attack left Fogle with a bleeding nose, swollen face and scratches on his neck. Nigg was then transferred to the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, before being transferred to FCI Safford in Safford, Arizona. On November 8, 2017, Pratt dismissed a motion filed by Fogle hoping to overturn his convictions by stating that the federal court did not have jurisdiction to convict him. She also dismissed another motion filed on behalf of Fogle by fellow inmate Frank Pate stating the court did not have jurisdiction because of Fogle's status as a sovereign citizen. Civil lawsuits. The parents of one of Fogle's victims filed a civil lawsuit against Fogle for personal injury and emotional distress. Fogle filed a motion arguing that the parents are actually liable for the injuries because the parents fought and abused alcohol in front of the daughter. On October 24, 2016, Kathleen McLaughlin's lawyers filed suit against Subway in Indiana. The suit alleges that Subway violated McLaughlin's privacy and property rights and caused personal injury to McLaughlin by covering up at least 3 instances of Fogle's illegal behavior that were reported to senior management, including the allegation that Subway's senior vice president of marketing hushed up a 2004 incident in which Fogle propositioned a young girl at a promotional event at a Subway franchise in Las Vegas. The lawsuit was dismissed in October 2017, with the judge writing that McLaughlin failed to show that Subway directed conduct that caused her harm. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?